Please note that the content of this episode has explicit language and is not suitable for underage listeners. Hi, I'm CJ and I've done phone sex for 24 years. Let's get started. I want to thank you for listening to Secrets from a Phone Sex Queen, everything you always wanted to know about phone sex and more. Please reach out to me with your questions, comments, anything you want to talk to me about at phonesexqueen1@gmail.com. If you're listening on YouTube, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to receive notifications on when new podcasts are dropped. First off, happy holidays to everyone and a very happy and healthy new year. I wanted to give you a quick update as to why I haven't posted anything in the last couple months. I recently fell and more recently had shoulder surgery, and so I have not only not done a podcast or dropped one, but I've also stopped doing phone sex because I didn't have the patience or the stamina to do it. I think I'm ready now. Actually, I started yesterday. So I wanted to drop a final podcast of the year, sort of a recap, update type of thing. So here I am. Thank you for your patience and hanging in there with me. So someone gave me an idea to let you all know what the most popular podcasts were and the least popular, just for informational purposes. You know, people are curious. When I record these, I never know, what people are interested in unless I get feedback. And if I don't get any feedback, then I really just have to go by the numbers that I see. Well, I looked today after not having looked in about 6 weeks because of my surgery. And the number one podcast, hands down, is the podcast of sounds that I make. The blowjob sounds, the sucking sounds, all of that. I don't know. For some reason, I thought maybe more of my stories would be more popular, but clearly that's not the case. So the number one podcast is episode 22. If anybody wants to go back and listen to it. Episode 18 is the second most listened to, and that was about blackmail and the first series of sounds I make. So those are the two most popular, which again, I thought was kind of interesting. Now, I will tell you that the least popular is episode 21, where one of the stories is about men who like to be kicked in the crotch. I believe that when I put the title out there, people don't want to hear about that, so they didn't gravitate toward that one. So I'll be a little more careful about how I title my podcast so people do listen to them. But regardless of that, I find it fascinating what people gravitate toward, which does surprise me. And again, I want to thank you all for listening. I want to thank you for your support and being part of my journey. This has been a whole lot of fun. Since I'm trying to keep this away from the socials for many reasons, I got an award for being podcast 82 out of 100 for relationship podcasts, which I find interesting because I don't consider this a relationship podcast, but I'll take the award anyway. So again, thank you all for listening and sharing and reaching out to me, and I found that to be really nice. I do have a Facebook page and an Instagram page. I'll have to put it on there, but I'm not really big on the socials. This is more like an underground thing where people talk about it and tell each other things, or people just happen to find it. But that was really nice to receive an award, so I wanted to share that with you as well. A lot of thank yous. I also wanted to thank the people who have listened to me and have become callers. I'm very honored and thankful for that, and I'm sorry I haven't been around, but I'm coming back and will be talking to you again very soon. I appreciate all of you who listen and who have turned into callers. Those of you who are on the fence about becoming a caller, I wouldn't hesitate at least to have one call with me. We can just talk and see if I'm the person for you. But I appreciate and I'm thankful for all of you. So thank you very much for trusting in me and becoming a regular of mine. I'm always surprised that people listen and want to have me be a part of their life in this way. So thank you again. And like I said, for the regulars who I do and did talk to, I will be back doing calls, taking calls probably next week. I think I'm getting there. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. So one last thank you to all of you for your support and listening. I wouldn't be here without you. This has been a very interesting and fun journey, and hearing from you has been fascinating and wonderful. I'm always receiving questions. People are very curious, and I do have some questions and answers that I received while I was out. Here is the first one. How does your role as a phone sex operator actor color the rest of your life? Do you think it hypersexualizes you? You mentioned people who ask you if it causes you to hate men, and you answered that. But how does it influence your view of other women, relationships, sexual politics, news of sexual scandals like Harvey Weinstein? That's a lot. So I'll try to break it down and explain it as quickly as I can. So, how does it color the rest of my life? I don't know how to answer that other than I don't think it does. I want to say not in a whole lot of ways. I think the biggest way that it colors anything is dating. Going out with a man, they go straight into, hi, how are you? And then they bring up some sexual question or whatever the case may be. And I think because I do this, what I look for is somebody different who doesn't bring that up in the first 5 or 10 minutes or even in the first conversation. So that's the biggest place where it's changed how I look at things and people, because I do this. And of course, I love talking about sex, but that's after I get to know you in my personal life, not before. Dating is already a challenge. When someone brings up sex immediately, I kind of get turned off, because if that's all you're about, then I'm not interested. But, on the second date, sure. But first date, let's get to know each other and we can go from there. I don't think it hypersexualizes me at all. I don't think about sex more than I used to. Just because I do this, I have a really good filter and a turn on, turn off switch. So I can be just as vulgar as a man if I want to be. And I have been. And then there are times where I'm just quite the opposite. So I don't think it hypersexualizes me at all. I'm very good at compartmentalizing things. And so when I'm on a date, I want to get to know the person. And I know sex is part of that. It also depends on how the person brings it up. I may talk about it on the first date. Just depends on how they bring it up. My view of other women, how does it influence my view of other women? I'm not sure how to answer that either. I think that everyone is very different and very individual. And so my view of other women oftentimes is that women are desperate. Many are, they'll do anything to be with a man to facilitate that. And so my view is, why can't they be confident enough to be strong and not put up with men who bring up sex or want to have sex all the time when they don't want to talk about it? I have friends who get very insulted when a man brings up sex. I don't get insulted. It just shows me that they have really nothing else to talk about, and that's all they think about. And so other women, I have no view about other women other than they have to be confident and not let their self-esteem get in the way. But, people have issues and they come with baggage, and, that's just the way that goes. I think I have a healthy view of relationships. I think relationships take a lot of work, and I believe in them. My parents were married a long time. My sister's been married a long time. And so I believe in relationships and marriage. It takes a lot of work. You both have to want it and stay in it. So I don't have a problem with that. I think that if that's something that you want, you have to work at it. Women complicate men. Men are not complicated. Men can't read minds, so women are more complicated. They have a bigger expectation. Women want men to do things without asking, but how does a man know what you want? And then it's a vicious circle. You're an idiot or whatever, and that's not true. You have to tell a man what you want in order for him to meet your expectations. I think relationships don't have to be complicated. It's the people in them, right? I mean, clearly, everybody comes with their baggage. Some people come with a very large piece of luggage, and some people come with like a wallet. And if you have a person who's had very bad relationships, then they come with a lot of baggage, and then they have expectation, and then they're disappointed, and with expectation comes disappointment. People are very complicated, both genders. However, men are simple, and like I said before, it's work, food, sports, and sex, not in that order, and not all four all the time either. And so pretty much that's what's important to men, other than, health and all that. That's separate. But, the four main food groups, if you will. And women just want to be, pampered and taken care of emotionally and all of that. And I think that has to be communicated. It's really important. Communication is really important. If you don't communicate, you don't have a whole lot of anything. So maybe that's why I'm 82 on 100 for podcasts. Relationships, because it's not really me talking about relationships, because that's not what I'm here for. But I get that a lot on my phone calls, so clearly I kind of understand that. The question brings up Harvey Weinstein, and I think whether you're Harvey Weinstein or somebody unknown, you should pay for whatever crimes you commit against a woman. There was a song, One Bad Apple Doesn't Spoil the Whole Bunch, and I agree, one bad man or two bad men or 10 bad men doesn't mean that every single man is bad. I just think that women, people in general, should be a little more discriminating, stand up for themselves, don't get talked into things if they can. There's a lot of power that people have against other people, and they flex their muscles and use it against people. So that's really a hard question to answer. But if someone is bad, whether it's a man or a woman, don't forget, Harvey Weinstein's a man, obviously. And there were other men, Bill Cosby, who, all of these people have been accused of things that they've done badly. If you watch enough streaming television, there's a lot of bad women out there too. Men have to be careful, and so do women. So I think if you do something bad to someone, you should be punished for your crime. So whoever asked me that, I hope that answers your multiple questions as I fumble over them. But relationships are challenging, and sometimes they're made more difficult than they need to be. And people should be punished for their crimes. How's that? That was a lot. The next question is, everybody knows men are visual. Hence the visual porn industry of movies and magazines, and women enjoy the written word as evidenced by romance novels, some smuttier than others. What does it say about a man who likes phone sex? Is there some common denominator about those who contact me? Is it the human connection? Oh, I think there's totally a common denominator of the men that call. I think there are a few. I think there's a very large group of people who have a secret and want to share it. We've talked about that before. And maybe it's not a secret from a spouse. It's just a secret about their life or about who they really are. And they want to share that with someone anonymously. I think that there is a large group of men who are in a relationship, married or otherwise, who can't share their deepest, darkest fantasies with their spouse, their girlfriend, the person that they're in the relationship with. I think that there are so many people who just are not able to share what's going on in their head for fear of retribution or being made fun of or thinking that they're sick in the head. There's a lot of things, fantasies that people enjoy that they are unable to share or express how they feel. That to me is the common denominator. That's what I've been saying this whole time. For example, the bloody guy, the guy that likes to have more than sex with someone that's on their period. He might be able to share that with a partner, but to what extent, right? I don't know. I don't know if he shares with that partner, if he's ever shared it with a partner to the extent that he shared it with me. He's talking to someone who isn't making a face at him or thinking he's disgusting. He's talking to someone who's actually telling him basically that it's okay. What does that do for him? It just makes him think, I think it makes him feel a little more confident. He may never tell a partner how he feels. He may always call a phone line, but at least he can fantasize about it and move along in his real life, or maybe one day have the nerve to bring it up to a partner and see what the partner will say. I do believe that there is definitely a human connection. So for example, I have a couple callers who call, we just talk. We don't have phone sex, and that's because it's a human connection thing. I don't think he has a lot of friends or doesn't have a lot of family around. He wants to talk. Like I said in one of my podcasts, he wants to talk to a pretty girl who doesn't judge him, and he'll say whatever he wants to say. And I'm not going to say, oh, that's gross, or you're disgusting, or oh, how sad for you, or I'm so sorry you have no one. I'm not saying any of those things. What I'm saying is, okay, well, good for you. That's great. Or that feels good. Whatever the case is, I don't know. Again, I also want to say that in adding to this question, people have said, well, phone sex is over. It's over. There's all these different websites where you can watch free sex, or you can watch people having sex right now, live sex, or you can watch videos. The thing is that's not personal. It can be personal if you're going to pay on the live sex websites, but people, a lot, of course not all, but a lot really want that one-on-one connection, and that's why they call. I do think there is a lot of commonality between my callers. Their fantasies may be different, their role plays may be different, but at the end of the day, they're calling because they're missing something in their personal life, in their real life. Otherwise, they wouldn't be calling me. My services would not be needed if they were getting everything in their real life that they wanted. So I've said it, and I will keep saying it. I provide a service, and I'm very happy to do so. There have been people who have told me that they have a great sex life with their partner, that things are really good with their partner. And then I will question them as to why they're calling me, and they will say, everything is great, but. It always comes down to it's great, but. It can't be 100% great if they're talking to me. It just can't. Something has to be up. So there's always that but. And if they want to tell me, they will. There is no forcing them to tell me. They don't have to give me details. They don't have to admit anything. So I hope that answers the question, that I am here to provide a service. Watching porn doesn't do it. Watching live sex doesn't do it. They want a one-on-one connection with someone who is non-judgmental, who will agree and go along with whatever it is that their fantasy, their fetish, whatever it is, and not make them feel horrible. I know I've had a few callers where I have tried to coax them into telling their partner how they feel. I hope that they have, because I think that it's important. If you want to have a really strong relationship connection, then you shouldn't feel that you can't tell them how and what you want. So I hope that helps. I hope that answers that question. If not, write me back and tell me what I missed. One last question, which I think I did answer or bring up in a previous podcast, but it did come up again, and it comes up often, that I am dating, and do I tell people that I date what I do as my second job? Sometimes I say it on the first phone call. Sometimes I wait. It just depends. It doesn't define who I am. And if I'm in a real pissy mood, which happens, I will test a man to see if he wants a sample, which I've been asked for before and I decline. So what'll happen is this. I'll be on the phone with someone, we'll have met on an app or whatever, and we'll talk. And they'll say, oh, you have a nice voice. And I'll say, thank you. And that happens probably 8 out of 10 times. So you have a nice voice, thank you. Then we'll talk and they'll say, what do you do? And I'll tell them what I do during the day. If I'm feeling it and I'm feeling a little pissy, like I said, or frisky, meaning I want to know if this guy is for real or if he's just going to go in to give me a free sample, I'll say, at night I have a second job. Some people don't bite. They say, oh, okay. And some people say, well, what do you do? I'll say, I'll do phone sex. Some people go, oh, and they ignore it. And some people go, oh, really? Well then. And then their whole demeanor changes. And if their whole demeanor changes and that's all that it's about, I don't meet them. If they sound interested and say, I have a couple questions, and they are thoughtful questions and not like pervy questions, then that's okay too. So it really just depends. I'd prefer not to tell someone until day 2 or 3 or 4, but sometimes I feel that people need to know right up front, get it out of the way, see a guy's reaction, and then move on, because it's out there now. I've been told so many times I have a great voice. Oh my God. Oh my God. I say, yeah, I've heard that before once or twice, and I just leave it at that. Sometimes it's a compliment, and sometimes it's just, I think, a segue for something else. And then again, I've also had, I've told people and they don't understand it. They're like, I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get that how phone sex could even still be out there with all the, porn and websites. And I'm like, well, you don't have to understand it. You obviously don't partake in it, and you don't have to understand it. And if they say, well, help me understand, okay, that's a conversation. You know me. I just say it's a service, and I think it's a really good service that I provide, and I hope to provide it for a very, very long time. So that's all for this year. I want to thank you all again. I've thanked you enough, but I want to thank you for listening, for everything that you've given me. I want to thank you for listening to Secrets from a Phone Sex Queen, everything you always wanted to know about phone sex and more. Again, please reach out with your questions, comments, anything you have to say to me, suggestions, whatever, at phonesexqueen1@gmail.com. New episodes will drop on Mondays in the new year. I don't know how frequently yet, but I will let you know. Check me out on Facebook at CJ's Podcast, Instagram, and TikTok at Phone Queen 1. If you're listening on YouTube, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you get notified when a new podcast is dropped. Until next time, in the new year, stay sexy.